Alrighty, hello everyone, my name's Colin, welcome to Onion Skin, continuing on with Controlling the Beast, a short mini-series about the basics of controlling Toon Boom using different aspects of this file of a monster rising to invade a town. This one's a bit different. It's more about how I overcame a couple of problems in order to get this file working, which is pretty normal in animating. You're gonna encounter things you haven't encountered before, and you spend a fair bit of time just trying to solve it. We're going to be diving a bit deeper into the node view, and a little bit deeper into deformation in the skeletal rigs. So this is one that is exclusively for Animate Pro and Harmony Premium users. You can see this network is it's pretty ridiculous. Let's see how it works. So this, the main hurdle I had to come across with this one is you can see in the perspective view that the character is physically behind the mountain and he has this claw that comes up, and I needed it to switch to being in front of the mountain after a certain period of time. The other huge problem I had was keeping the claws stationary after a certain point, because the way deformations work is they have a central pivot. Hang on, let's see if I can't turn this one on. If you haven't seen the first one about deformation, click on this. You'll see how it works. So the way the deformers work is that they have a hinge at the very beginning, like that, and it picks the whole piece up, and then it works its way down the chain, taking several pieces as it goes. My problem was that once the hand hits the wall, I needed that hand to stay completely still, which is almost impossible because it was hinged at the shoulder. As the whole character inside all of its pegs are moving, the hand is inevitably going to move with it. There was no way of locking it to the point. So what I had to do was create a second deformation rig, one that starts on the hand and then pivots on the shoulder. You can see here, that's where it's locked, and the shoulder's the thing that's being animated. So what I needed to figure out was how to have both of these deformations existing, and then it would flip from one system to the other at a certain point. Does that all make sense? Anyway, so the way the node view works is in your composite. Currently we're looking through display 2. This is indeed display 2. And these are all the layers that are connecting into it. The way a composite works is the layer that's going into the one on the right is the one on the lowest, and as you work towards the left, you're getting higher. So this one is the top layer, if that makes sense. So this little structure here is both versions of the arm. This one is the arm going from the shoulder. You can see it's called here left arm shoulder offset, and this one is called left arm hand offset. And they both go into a different kind of composite, which is called a switch. And these things only reveal one port at a time for whatever they've been animated to. So down here in the timeline, I have a layer here. Well, the switch layer is here. And if I expand its parameters, here and here, you can see its port index is number 1. And at this point in the animation here, you can see it flips down to 0. And that is indeed the point where that changes to there. So that's how I overcame that one. And it was a similar yet even more complicated system for this arm here, because that also needed to switch from the shoulder to the claw, but it also needed to switch from being a claw that is behind the mountain to a claw that is in front of the mountain. So in amongst here, I've got two things called peg transformers. And what they do is, of course I'm going to do a whole series on each of these subjects, but layers are typically grouped together into what's called a peg. This is like a symbol if you've ever used Flash. So you can see these two drawings here eventually get grouped up into a peg above it. And that is a system that has no drawings inside of it itself. And a peg is a position. You can animate something sliding all about the screen, and any layer that is pinned into it will be carried along with it. A peg transformation basically allows you to put a peg at the bottom of the chain rather than at the top. And why you would want to do this is so you can effectively have the same drawing exist in two different places at the same time. So in this blank file, I'm just going to draw a scribbly circle, nothing. And if I put a peg above it, with the transform tool, that will allow me to move it all about, right? But say I want to have it exist in two different places at once. If I put an apply peg transformation underneath, and then put the peg into the left port of that, it will let me move it about exactly the same. But then I can take a second thread that just goes straight down to the composite, and that one has no transformation applied to it. So when I move this around, notice that the second one doesn't get affected. If I put a peg above everything and moved that one, notice that it moves both of them together. And this is where it gets really fun, is if you put this peg into that, it's going to apply this motion twice, if that makes sense. So that's now multiplied by 2. Pretty cool, huh? So by combining a peg transformation where the original is behind the mountain and then a second one that has it moved to in front of the mountain, I could then use a switch to only make one or the other visible at different times of the animation. So that's what that's all about. I'm not sure if there's too much practical knowledge there, but at least it should make navigating this crazy mess a little bit more bearable. So yeah, dig through some of these other nodes, turn them on and off, see what they do, have some fun, and I'll see you in the next one.